Welcome everyone. In this tutorial, I am going to take the testing of Blazor components with bUnits further, and I will be actually doing the controlling the root render tree. Some unit test I will be carrying out on the root render tree. And this tutorial, I strongly suggest that you should go through my first tutorial of the series, which was testing ASP.NET 5 Blazor counter component using bUnit package of Xunit framework. So I have told all the prerequisites and I have actually created the project Blazor Wasm project WebAssembly, and I will take it further. I will continue with the same project and solution that I have created. So first, a little bit of theory. So the scope of this tutorial is what we are going to do is the Blazor, this will be a Blazor test, no doubt. It will verify that a Razor component named print cascading value correctly prints out the cascading value passed to it. So what's the cascading value? So cascading values and parameters provide a convenient way to flow data down a component hierarchy from the ancestor component to any number of descendant component. So unlike component parameters, cascading values and parameters don't require an attribute assignment for each descendant component where the data is consumed. And the cascading values and parameters also allow components to coordinate with each other across a component hierarchy. I'll put a link in the description for the document in the you know, .NET domain in the Microsoft domain, and that will be useful for you to read. And before that, before actually carrying out the test, there is a bit of a theory how to control the root render tree. Now, root render tree is the render tree in which the components under test are rendered. And using bUnit's test context, it can be added to before the components are rendered. I don't want to use the word actually, but that's the case actually. Mm, So it can be added before the components are rendered in code. It is useful when a component under test, or COT in short, or a component it depends on must be rendered inside another component that provides a cascading value to it. An example is Blazor's authentication, where a cascading authentication state component is added higher up in the render tree so that it can provide authentication state to those components below it that need it. So having said that, let's switch over to Visual Studio. And there is the last point. In a shared setup method, if it is added through the render tree property on the test context base type, you could avoid having to do so in every test method during the call to render component. Okay, so that we are going to see soon. So this was the counter demo solution in which there are two projects that we created in the last tutorial, which I was talking about. So this is a counter demo project, and this is a bUnit test which has got a counter test. So this was the counter test that I have written and explained in the last lecture. So I'll not go over it, but we'll continue in the same solution. So what I will do is I will create another Razor component. So within the counter demo, and this is the pages folder with which we have, I will take make it print cascading value. I will create. So I will right click here, add Razor component. So print cascading value is my Razor component, and I will paste the code that I have on my clipboard. Cascading value is add value. So this is a cascading parameter. And if you look over onto the IntelliSense, it says that it denotes the target member as a cascading component parameter. Okay. And its value will be supplied by the closest ancestor cascading value component that supplies values with a compatible type and name. That's what I was earlier telling. Okay, now having come here, I will add a class on the bUnit test, add class, and let this class be called Cascading Value Test. So I will right click on the bUnit test project and add class, name it Cascading Value Test. Click on enter to click this and make this as public class, and use this. If if you have gone through the first lecture, you will find that it has got a using statement. You have to bring on this two libraries, using bUnit and using Xunit. Okay, and just Control Shift B to build if everything is all right or not. Now, in the meantime, I will just show one thing, that this project is dependent upon counter demo that I have told in that previous lecture for that counter test. Now, I'll write some code. I'll create a public void, and this test will be print cascading value, print cascading. This is a component that we just created, print cascading value, prints correctly, or something like that, which is actually representative of the thing that is supposed to do. All right, and I will have to mark it with an attribute fact. So what is fact? So fact is attribute that is applied to a method to indicate that it is a fact that should be run by the test runner. Okay. Now here I will have to apply the code that I have on my clipboard. This is the code that I have had, and it is missing some reference. Cascading value, potential fixes using ASP.NET ASP.NET Components. So this library is added, and this has taken care of this casting this squiggly line, red squiggly line under the cascading value, and then this also needs using counter demo.pages, okay, because it is a part of this um, pages folder that I have put this print cascading value. All right, and now it is all ready to go. Actually, what is happening here is it's creating a context of test context type, okay, and then it is adding a cascading value to the test context root render tree. So it's adding a cascading value to the root render tree, okay, through this add method. So context.renderTree.add this cascading value, which provides a cascading value to all descendant components, and parameters goes to parameters.add p.value and then foo. Okay. So what does this add method does? Adds a component parameter for the parameter selected with parameter selector with the value. Okay. So it takes two parameters in the cascading value of type string, and that is a parameter selector and another string. You can see another string value. Now on this var cut is actually component under test, is a short name, just like system under test. It was given this name, component under test. So ctx.render component, it instantiates and performs the first render of a component of type print cascading value, and then it calls on the markup matches method and passes the value cascading value colon foo. So if it is foo, then it will be all right. Okay, so let's see it in action. Click on test, uh, run all tests. I'll make it come over here. So it has got now 2 tests. One not run, one passed. Now the second is also passed. So cascading value test passed. So that's it. Just to test it further, if you put the value say full and then again run this test, it will fail. It should fail. Repeat last run. And you can see that this cascading value test has failed this time. So this mismatch is there. Okay. So markup matches, what does it do? It will verify where the rendered markup for the actual I rendered fragment matches the expected markup. Okay. Okay. Thank you.